Good morning, West Ham fans. This is the Daily Ramble here on Claret and Booze with me, Gary, and I've got a lot to cover today before I head off down the M23 to Brighton. Not really looking forward to that, but we'll talk about that later. I'm also going to cover all of the latest transfer news. There's quite a lot of it, actually, and it's been an amazing window so far, even though it started horribly. Not that Moyes thinks so, and I'm going to cover that as well. And also going to talk a little bit about Brighton right at the very end. So I've been away for over a week. Sorry, I've started a new job, so I've kind of Nick has been left to his own devices on the channel because John's been on holiday as well. But anyway, look, give the show a watch if you like it. Please subscribe, hit like, and hit the bell notification icon. But first of all, the only story in town, which is Mohamed Kudus. Now, I find this deal absolutely unbelievable. This is to think the obstacles we had to overcome to get this deal done. And the reaction has been furious from some quarters. Marco van Basten, no less, has actually come out and said, what the hell's he going to West Ham for? Or worse to that effect. And Chelsea and Arsenal fans have been really bitter. One Chelsea idiot, he said, why didn't he go to a big club? Sorry, mate, I think you're confusing big with rich. And Arsenal fans, there was one really smug git on there last night on Twitter, or X, basically saying, it's an ideal stepping stone until he goes to a big club like Arsenal. I'll piss off, mate. Look, he's having his medical today, 5 years, plus 1 year option for 45 million euros, including add-ons. That's a wonderful deal. Absolutely wonderful deal. And this is after the fantastic signings of Mavropanos and Alvarez as well. And Tim ain't stopping there. Again, more on that later. First, I want to focus on something that I watched before I went to bed last night. And honestly, I woke up thinking about it. And this is the 12-minute David Moyes passive-aggressive press conference for the Brighton game. He managed to fit in, because he's already said about Tim. He doesn't like Tim at all, right? He said a few weeks ago in one of his press conferences, he's new, he's got no Premier League experience, because Premier League experience, as you know, is the theme of the season for David Moyes, because it's literally the only thing he can, it's the only thing he can throw to defend himself against what is obviously a superb acquisition in Tim Steidten. And what he said yesterday in the press conference just made my ears prick up. He said, just a throwaway comment, he said, we got a new German, what does that matter, technical director who hasn't experienced the British transfer window before, deals getting done at the last minute and everything else. No, Dave, that's how you do business. And we don't do business at the last minute anyway. It's usually the last day, isn't it? But I think you'll find, Dave, if you look around, I think Germany have a transfer window as well. I think all of the countries have a transfer window. So I don't think the British one's any different to anybody else's. He went on about what a fantastic win it was against Chelsea. Now, let's get it into context. I loved the win against Chelsea, right? What I loved most was the reaction of the Chelsea fans on Twitter afterwards and various social media. One especially called, what is her name? I can't remember. But anyway, she's a young girl who had an Astrid, that's it. She had a meltdown. And then all week she's been making kind of videos where she kicks the shit out of bubbles and stuff like that, and I was thinking, that's a bit hard hitting. But anyway, it's been fun to watch. But let's get that into context, that game, because had that penalty gone in, that was a time we were properly under the cosh. I don't think we win that game if that penalty goes in, but you need a bit of luck, and we've had a bit of luck. Massive slice against Bournemouth, another slice against Chelsea. We can all see why why we ended up on the back foot in those games is because we went 1-0 up, we sat 11 men behind the ball. They drew level, we sat deeper. In both games, right? In both games. So look, by hook or by crook, we got a point and then we got 3 points. So great. The best thing I saw about that game against Chelsea last weekend was how we played with 10 men. But that is industrial football, right? And that is what people like Souček are actually cut out for. Because if you notice, Souček wasn't very good in the first half. They were playing for him. Him and JWP, that is... Look, I thought JWP had a fantastic debut. Really did. And in the press conference, David Moyes went on about it constantly because he was one of the 3 players he wanted. So he got one of his players. But I don't mind about that, and I don't think anybody else minds about it either, because he is a great player, JWP, for the quality of the set pieces alone. So I'm not going to knock him. I think he's a good player. But he went on. He literally, he's the only new signing he spoke at length about. He said he likened him to Noble. And he said, he kind of alluded to the fact that he might be a captain one day. And he came and he said, oh, you got to earn your stripes first when you're new at the club. It was also a little dig at the other 2 players. Regarding Mavropanos, he said, he's not fit at the moment. Might be ready after the international break. So that's him out. He ain't playing this week. He ain't playing next week either. He might get a game when he comes back. Doubt it, though. Because, even though Moyes wanted Maguire, which was clearly to go to a back 3, that concept has gone out the window now because he's ended up without Maguire with a better player potentially in Mavropanos. He has been, Moyes' idea of going for a back 3 and sitting for the whole season with like 7, 8, 9 players behind the ball. That's been scrapped now. He's been screwed and he resents it as well, right? Another thing he said about Alvarez, it was a throwaway comment. He just said he's only had 20 minutes, and other than that, we've only seen him in training, so we can't judge him. So I think what we're actually seeing unfold here is, they're the 2 players that were photographed on the jet with Tim Steidten. Clearly, Tim Steidten signings. Kudus will be the same. I suspect that he's going to try to not use any of those 3 players if he can help it. Only if he gets desperate, which he will, in my opinion. So look, the press has said to me, what I took from it was, me, David Moyes, I know everything. The first 2 results have proven it. How can you doubt me? I'm a European champion. He was so smug, and the way he hit back at a journalist in there, a journalist asked a very reasonable question. He said, David, you said you're gonna get 1 or 2 signings in. How important is it, especially a striker, because you've lost Skamaka? And he responded. He said, you remember that time where he said, it's Moyes now, is it? Yeah, he turned around to him and said, so you're telling me how to do my job? You're telling me who I've got to sign? He was really aggressive. I honestly, the old Moysaurus is West Ham past very soon, I suspect. Maybe the end of the season, but hopefully sooner. But anyway, we've seen a glimpse of the future in Tim Steidten. I love Tim Steidten. Honestly, the way he has got this deal done, I mean, he's not signed yet, but he's flying in for a medical today, so that means that means agreements have already been signed and everything else. So it's as good as done, as long as he don't fail his medical. But the amount of opposition for this deal in terms of other clubs trying to bid, even the Saudis coming in at the last minute, right? The number of obstacles. So the key stakeholders, you had the club who kept raising their price and messing around. You had the agent, the one that was likened to Maggie Thatcher a few videos ago. These people are notoriously difficult to deal with. I mean, in fact, Brighton dropped out of the deal because of the agents. So he has basically camped out, followed him around. He was in Bulgaria to see him play the other night. I think he's probably staying in his spare room, Tim. I don't think he has let Kudus out of his sight, and he won't let him out of his sight until he's signed on the dotted line. That is how you get deals done in this day and age. Unfortunately, that is what you have to do, because there are so many people looking for the good players. He is a very good player, and to do that business for £40 million, get Alvarez, who is also top drawer and should replace Souček, for 30 million, and Mavropanos, who, all right, a bit of a wild card, but for 20 million, but also looks a good player. That's 3 very good players for the same price as Maguire and McTominay. So, who would you choose? Which horse would you back? I mean, for me, it's starting all the way. Alvarez is better than Souček. He should be starting today. Souček should be on the bench. Souček, he did all right against Bournemouth, but Bournemouth they were crap, right? Let's not kid ourselves. We should have beaten them. Chelsea, first half, when they actually played football, he was nowhere. He was all over the place, making mistakes. Second half, when it turned a little bit industrial, yeah, he was back in his home territory, heading stuff away and whatever, and blocking. Anytime there's an outbreak of football in the middle of the pitch, quick passing football, Souček gets found wanting. We know it. Moyes knows it. So, Kudus. this will be interesting because this guy is being tipped to be absolutely world class. So you got I watch with interest as he joins West Ham what Moyes does with him. Is he going to first of all do what he done with Mavropanos and Alvarez and say, he's not fit enough for the Premier League yet? Okay. So you're not going to get match fit unless you play matches, right? But anyway, that's his way of just holding it off, I think, and trying to use his old guard and prove that his old guard works so he don't have to use the new players. I wouldn't put it past Moyes to keep Benny in the side and keep Kudus out. And I think if he does that, he is going to get screwed, right? Because the results are not going to keep coming. We've got a horrible run of games coming up. He's got his excuses lined up already because it'd be Liverpool, Man City, blah, 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 blah. We've got to win against Luton next week. And in a game like today, you know, you will be judged. No matter who you're playing against, you will be judged on how the team perform, because you can go out there against the City or Liverpool or even a Brighton. You can go out there and you can put in a performance, and we're not stupid. We'll see that was a good performance. Yes, we got beat, but that was a good performance. Or we sat back, invited them on, and got rumped. So there's two ways. So the result isn't everything. That's what I'm saying. It's performance as well. So look, Tim is the future, and I absolutely love what I'm seeing. Moyes isn't. And the sooner we get him out of this club, whether it's the end of the season or sometime soon, the better, in my view. I've never come across such a huge ego in my life. And I've seen a lot of egos. Sam Allardyce, for instance. Okay, let's move on to the transfer news. Right. A few interesting ones to start with. So, Ivan Fresneda, who plays for Real Valladolid in Spain, described as the best young right back in the world. You know, you didn't mishear that. The best young right back in the world. 18 years old. I don't know whether he would be one for the future or he would be one that would go in. I think if it wasn't Moyes, I'd say, yeah, he might get a game, but Moyes being Moyes and the squad seniority system that he runs, he's got no chance of getting a run out for us. So I ain't pinning me hopes on this, even though I would like to see him. And, you know, it comes with great references, doesn't he? About 13 million, 15 million as well. And apparently Palace are in for him too. Chelsea and Arsenal showing interest recently as well. We need a replacement right back, don't we? I mean, that is a massive weak link in that defence. So look, next, Hugo Ekitike. We've spoken about him, the jet-heeled Hugo Ekitike. Kind of goes hand in hand. Apparently Sky Sports last night was saying he preferred a move to Brentford. I don't buy that. Why would you prefer a move to Brentford? But apparently he is a genuine option for us, and Steidten has held positive talks with PSG. Excuse me. There is a chance he goes to Frankfurt as part of a deal for another player that they're doing with PSG. But yeah, we'll see how that one unfolds. Either way, pace excites me. Good player. Probably not suited to playing up front on his own, but you know, more likely to turn into a wide player. Yusuf En-Nesyri, someone who is used to playing up on up front on his own, around 22 million, part X for Fornals. It's the Fornals part that I don't like in that deal, but it kind of looks. And Nick mentioned as well, so bear with me a minute. He sent me a note this morning. Right, okay, so Paqueta apparently has recommended a Brazilian striker called Yuri Alberto, who plays for Corinthians. And Nick said he looks fucking mustard. Now, showreels can do that, but you know, I wouldn't think that Paqueta would be recommending anybody who isn't a good player, a top player. So Jesse Lingard, interesting. Apparently, only Moyes wants him. You know, when you get these reports out that he's impressing in training, well, he's impressing in terms of getting himself back to fitness, because he's still 4 weeks away from fitness. God, it makes me wonder, was he in my kind of state when he turned up and started training? I don't know, because, you know, if he's still 4 weeks away, he's been training with us for a couple of weeks already. Bloody hell, just how unfit was he? But Moyes wants to do this deal. I am, you know, I'm still in two minds about this, because I think if Moyes gets Lingard goes in the team, regardless who we've got. He loves him. He pines for him. Next, we have a potential outbound with Thilo Kehrer. He's wanted by Bayern Munich. We've spoken about Fornals to Seville already. I think with Kudus coming in, Benny must be on the market. And I think we're going to see a few surprising. For me, this week is going to be really interesting, this final week of the transfer window, because I think we'll see who's calling the shots, right? I think if it was up to Moyes, Benny doesn't get sold. Or Ings, I don't think he gets sold either, because he sees Ings as his backup striker at the moment, even though he isn't. By the way, what's Ings wearing with those like vest tops and stuff in training? It's a bit weird. He looks like a mini bouncer, doesn't he? It's very odd. And also, I think if we're looking to sign another striker on top of Kudus, who can play right, left, or striker, that would surely mean that Mickey would be down the pecking order. And I think it was Moyes that said he's going nowhere, right? We know that Mickey wants to leave. He wants a deal. So that's probably, pissed him off a bit. Mickey was great last week. Really great. He doesn't do that every game. He definitely doesn't finish like that every game. He doesn't score a lot of goals. But I do love Mickey. And if he stays, I won't have a problem with it. But I think if he stays, Moyes plays him every game, irrespective of who we've got available. That is what he will do. Unless it's one of his strikers, say he wants En-Nesyri, then he might put En-Nesyri in. But we shall see. I think it's fair to say, if Mickey's allowed to leave, Moyes hasn't made that decision. All right, so I think that pisses him off. Also, Cresswell won't get any game time, and he ain't getting any time soon. So maybe a last-minute deal for him. And Ben Johnson as well. It looks like he could be heading for the door. Southampton and various other clubs are interested as well. So that completes the transfer roundup. Let me have a drop of water. I'm dying here. Hang on. That's better. So I'm setting off for Brighton. Setting off for the drive very soon. Going to meet a few people down there and have a couple of drinks. Going to be a lovely sunny day out, I reckon. But I'm not expecting anything. But it's football. It's still a sport. Even though the big clubs don't want it to be, it's still a sport. Anything can happen. We've got more points than I expected at this time in the season, and I think any of us expected. So that'll just ensure Moyes does the same again tomorrow, as he said in his presser. His tactics have been sublime, superb so far. He'll sit deep. If we happen to get a set-piece goal, he'll sit deeper. If they equalise, he'll sit even deeper. Souček will start again. Alvarez ain't getting a look in, even though he was rubbish first half last week. Brighton... In my opinion, Brighton will play through our midfield, because what we're playing here, it's not a Chelsea or a Bournemouth. That was a good time to play both of those teams. Let's not fool ourselves. Bournemouth looked like they'd never met each other before. Chelsea, similar, right? I mean, they had a couple of outstanding performances, one in particular from Raheem Sterling, who was mustard. But really, other than that, they were a bit disjointed, Chelsea. And that machine's going to click at some point. It could have even clicked against us. But Brighton are in full flow. Scoring a minimum of 4 goals every game. So I fear for us today going down there, because they've got so many options. They are so cute in the transfer market. They can let all their best flair players go. McAllister, Caicedo, get rid of, and then they just bring other people in. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how well organised and well run that club is. They put others to shame. But in order to facilitate something like that, a model like that, you've got to have a coach who is willing to facilitate it. Moyes would never survive in that system, because you've got to constantly adapt and constantly change. As your best players are sold from underneath you, you need to constantly adapt and change. You need to embrace the new players that are coming in. He said in his presser that Brighton are a very well-run club, and they do this brilliant thing of buying players and loaning them out, and then a couple of years later, when they've matured, bring them back and throw them into the first team. But the manager's got to be willing to support that. That's the bit he left out. He wouldn't be. There's no way he's sending players out on loan, not in the Premier League, bringing them back and putting them straight into the Premier League. That ain't happening. But that is what Brighton do. So, regards the Brighton game, again, what did he say about it in the presser? Nothing much, actually, other than they're a great side. Look at all of the flair players they've got. Guess who he picked out as their stars? Go on, have a guess. Dunk and Webster, the 2 centre-backs. This is an open, attacking, flair-filled, beautiful footballing team. And he picks out 2 centre-halves. I like Duncan Webster. They're great. But that ain't who I'd pick out watching a team like that, is it? Is it you? So look, today I'm driving down now. Going to have a nice day. Not going to let football ruin it. I'm expecting us to lose, probably about 3-1. Let me know what you think. Let me know your predictions. Let me know your opinions on the Moyes Prezza. Did you see it how I saw it, or did I just take it the wrong way? But it's just the look on his face as he was delivering all those things. It just looked like he was bitter and twisted, right? But it could be just me interpreting it wrong, maybe being a little bit biased. So that's me done. We may do a show on Monday unless, Nick might do one tomorrow, but I can't make it tomorrow because I'm going to the Reading Festival. So we might push it back to Monday. I need to confirm with Nick. John's still on holidays. I don't think he's back until middle of the week, late in the week. So, and Nick today is going to do a post-match reaction, and he's debating with himself whether to do a watch-along. So whatever he does, considering what is the likely outcome of this, they'll both be a good watch. So make sure you tune in. Until next time, wish me luck, see you soon, and come on you Irons.